The next interview question is, first interview question I told you which framework you are using and what are the different components, structure of your framework. Can you explain me? Then explain all those folder structure. Now, next interview question is, what are the different OOPS concepts you have used in your automation? Can you give me all the OOPS concept where you have used? Don't tell only the definition of OOPS concepts. Encapsulation definition, inheritance definition, polymorphism definition, abstraction definition. They don't want definitions. You have to give the scenario where you have used it in your automation. You have to give a file name and how you used that file you have to give. That I'm going to explain in detail. Yes. So did you implement interface in your automation? The first time coming for interface. Explanation. We have implemented iTest listener interface in our custom class. Listener component is there, right? In the listener component, iTest listener interface, we are going to implement in our custom class. That means interface you are implementing in your custom class. That's the answer. All the iTest listener interface methods are implemented in the custom listener class. So iTest listener interface methods are like on finish, so on start, on test failed but within success percentage, on test failure. So if your test case fails, this method will execute for you. So on test skipped, if your test method is skipped, so whatever the code you are writing in this method, that will execute. On test start, so before starting your test method, whatever the code you write, that code will execute. On test success, okay, your test method is success. So what code you want to execute, you write here. So this is the iTest listener interface and their abstract methods. These are all interface inside, abstract methods in there. Abstract methods we are implementing in our custom listener class. So that's a interface you have used and implemented. That is the first point. Second point. So where you have used Java OOPS concepts in your automation framework. First, encapsulation. Encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, right? These are the OOPS concepts. So encapsulation, every page class follows the encapsulation concept. So the page objects are declared as a private members, and respective methods you will declare as a public. So I told you, right, a page object model, page factory. Every element at the rate find by annotation you are identifying, then below you are writing that element with a private variable you are declaring. So this is the element and methods you are declaring public. The same private variable you are using inside the method. Directly you cannot use this variable in other classes, but how you are calling that variable through methods, public methods. So this is the encapsulation. Every page class follows the encapsulation process. Next, inheritance. So test-based class is extending to every test-ng class. Like base class I told, right? Base class is extending to page classes, and base class is extending to test case classes. Base class is extending into utility classes. Base class is extending to WebDriver utility methods. So that's a extends. So inheritance you are using. So here is the example. So my test-based class is extending to WebDriver utility methods class. Every page class will extend to WebDriver utility class. So this WebDriver utility class already extended to base class. Now every page class is extending into WebDriver utility class. So public class WebDriver utility extends test base. See, this is the one. So this is the one. Base class is extending into WebDriver utility class. Now every page class you are extending to WebDriver utility class. So public class home page extends WebDriver utility class. This is called multi-level inheritance. Is it right or not? WebDriver utility is the child of test base. Home page is child of WebDriver utility. It's the multi-level inheritance or not? So like that, you can explain all the inheritance concept where you have used. Same points you give, no problem. Okay, next, interface. So WebDriver is an interface. WebDriver has many abstract methods which are implemented in the remote WebDriver class. We are overriding the WebDriver methods in the remote WebDriver class. That is following method overriding. So you're covering the interface. You're covering the polymorphism method overriding. So wait is an interface. JavaScript executor is an interface. Action is an interface. Takes a screenshot is an interface. So these are all interface concepts. Then polymorphism. So WebDriver, driver equal to new Chrome driver. This is the runtime polymorphism concept. The parent type variable pointing to the implementing class object. So that is a runtime polymorphism. So method overloading. Actions class is following method overloading concepts. So click without parameters, click with web element. Context click with without parameters, context click with web element. So these are all following method overloading concept. Even expected conditions class. Element to be clickable by dot locator, locate value. Element to be clickable, web element. So this is a method overloading concept. You can give all these examples, method overloading concept. Or even, did you use method overloading in your already existing one? No, but did you write? You can tell that. So frame, switch to frame method we developed, right? So that you can tell. Capture screenshot we told, right? Capture screenshot entire page. Capture screenshot a particular element. That also you can tell if they ask you, customize, did you write the code for method overloading? You can tell these examples also. Okay. So that's the where you have used your OOPS concept in your automation framework.